Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is the informational meeting that's kicking off Eastern's Solarize U campaign. And you will hear more details about what that campaign is throughout the hour. But we're going to start with a welcome from our president, Dr. Nunez. Please help me welcome her.
Exciting it is to be here this afternoon. And I know we're a small group, but you know, I've been in this business long enough, I'm in my 60s, to know I always start with whoever comes, and eventually the thing mushrooms, and then, you know, 5 years later you're astonished that it's taken hold. So to the pioneers, I thank you, because it is important for you as a member of the community to hear about these opportunities, but it's also important for us. We feel an obligation to share with our employees all the benefits that we learn about through the research that's conducted here and the good work that's done, in this case, by the Institute for Sustainable Energy. So thank you for being here. We have accomplished a lot at Eastern in terms of sustainability. I'm really proud. We've got an endowed chair in sustainability. He's a full professor. He holds an endowed chair. The endowed chair costs the university about $3 million a year. He gets research money. He's able to do interesting things in his research. And Paul, we're lucky to have him. It's the second person who's held the endowed chair. We have the Institute. We're really privileged that Lynn Stoddard accepted the directorship. She's another leg of the three-legged stool for sustainability. And then, of course, we have Renee Quiche, who's leading up now facilities, and so we practice what we preach. We don't want the Institute to be out there talking about all the great things all the great things that can be done, and then Eastern not doing them. So facilities is the third leg of that stool, and we're very proud. We have green buildings on campus, energy efficiency improvements, renewable energy, and the academic program with a major and a minor in sustainable energy studies. Statewide work on sustainability has also taken place through the Institute. Green-themed housing, a community garden, an electric vehicle charging station are now on campus, and on and on and on. We continue to work on our commitments, and I'm grateful to everyone in the community for all you do to help us with this. In fact, today Eastern is submitting an update to our greenhouse gas emissions report as part of our obligation to the American College and University's President's Climate Commitment. I was one of the first presidents to sign the climate commitment. At first I was scared to, because I didn't want to commit to something I couldn't do in terms of financial investment, and then I had a group of people over that year study what it would cost, and then when they came back with the numbers, we said we could do it financially, and we made a 10-year strategic plan to make those investments. So I was really proud to sign the commitment. Lynn Stoddard and Renee Quiche and their staffs work very hard to put this information together, which shows us where we are, how far we need to go to become carbon neutral by 2050. It should be sooner, Lynn. We always talk about that, but we're not. You know, if we get there sooner, that'll be terrific, but I'm terrified to put an earlier date and then not make it. So I think we will do it sooner. Solarize U is a chance for us to extend sustainability efforts beyond the campus and into the homes of Eastern employees. It's an outreach campaign to our employees, students, providing information about special incentives and the benefits of installing solar on our homes and making our homes more energy efficient. While our role in spreading the word to Eastern community about the benefits of solar, the campaign has lots of resources that you'll hear about today. This is a really interactive workshop, so you'll be able to ask those questions as you go along. One of these tools is a website that will help you find solar vendors, compare prices, and track your progress. The website and other tools will help you evaluate the opportunities and cost savings for installing solar in your homes. Once again, Eastern is in the lead of this effort. We are one of 6 universities in Connecticut participating in Solarize U, and it's the first one to launch the campaign on the campus. The other schools are Yale, Southern, UConn, Wesleyan, and the University of New Haven. So you've got a nice mix of private and public institutions. We are the first to sign a letter of agreement and to launch our Solarize campaign, and I'm sure we will remain ahead of these schools in terms of participation and enthusiasm and commitment. Finally, I want to acknowledge our partners. Eastern can't do anything without our partners. They make us look so good. Yeah, I used to say, Nancy Tinker, she passed away, please, if anybody asks for a volunteer, jump out there and volunteer, because at the end of the day, we benefit so much from the wealth of knowledge and the expertise of our partners. We are grateful for their leadership in creating this program, and that's Connecticut Green Bank and Smart Power. And we are very, very pleased this afternoon, and you'll get to hear from them, David Stout from Smart Power and Bob Wall from the Connecticut Green Bank are here today. And Bob reminded me that he was on the board of the Institute for Sustainable Energy, so he has deep roots with Eastern. We're really grateful to the two of you for taking a chance with Eastern and being so committed to the work that we do. Thank you. And once again, today it's an energizing moment because we're trying to change the way this country uses energy. And one of the things that happens in this country is things catch on. Sometimes it takes longer than we would like, but I think the time has come for solar energy, and I think it's catching on, and it'd be wonderful if Eastern could be the first community as a whole that has the biggest numbers in catching on. So thank you for being here, and I congratulate Lynn and the Institute for being so eager to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nunez, for your remarks and for all your leadership and support on Eastern's sustainability initiatives. It's great. Paul Torsellini has joined us, who you mentioned in your earlier remarks. Thanks for being here, Paul. So we don't want to take a lot of your time. We want to get right to the nuts and the bolts of the campaign. So Dr. Nunez mentioned our partners, both Bob Wall and David Stout, will be doing some presentations. I just wanted to mention the staff of the Institute for Sustainable Energy and our students, many of whom are here, who are helping out with the Solarize campaign. So can the ISC people just kind of wave their hands? If people have questions or want more information, you can track down any of these folks. Please come in and have a seat. Join us. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bob and David. Bob, who I've worked with for many years and is a friend and a colleague, and it's great to be partnering on another campaign again. So thanks for coming.
Indeed it is. Thank you, Lynn. It's great to be back here at Eastern to see friends like Lynn and Laura and Laurel and the guy who let me into ISC headquarters, not knowing who I was. But we're excited that you took a chance with us. You guys were the first to raise your hand, and we're very excited about this new campaign. Solarize has been around in Connecticut now. We're going on our third year, and it was based on a model that was developed in Portland, Oregon, and then replicated by our neighbors to the north in Massachusetts. And we sat down, and I work for what's legally known as the Connecticut Green Bank, formerly known as, and still currently known as, the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority, or CEFIA. Before that, we were the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund. It's all one organization whose mission has evolved with our changing times. But we sat down with our colleagues from Massachusetts and created a program to bring to Connecticut that drastically reduces the price of solar and helps make it easier for people to say yes to solar. And Connecticut has made phenomenal strides. Just almost every month the rate seems to double. In 2011, the General Assembly tasked us with supporting 30 megawatts of solar, which is a huge number. By the year 2022, well, we hit that target last summer, like 8 years ahead of schedule, and it was really thanks to the Solarize program in particular that has ramped things up. And I'm joined here, and I'm going to cede the microphone very shortly to my friend and colleague, David Stout. And most of you are probably too young to remember the Hair Club for America commercials, where the speaker on the commercials was not only the president of the organization, but he also happened to be a customer who had the hair replacement. But David fortunately didn't need that, but he is a veteran of the Solarize Newtown campaign, and he took advantage of the opportunity in his hometown, and he does a lot of energy work, working with both businesses and residents throughout the state, and we're delighted that he's joined Smart Power, and he's going to handle the lion's share of today's presentation. And Lynn, how do I... I'm very tech savvy. Okay. So the goal of the campaign, as I mentioned, is to make solar simple, to reduce the barriers that historically have prevented people from adopting the technology, which is now quite proven and very popular here and throughout the world. People often ask, do we get enough sun in Connecticut? And the answer is yes, we do. We get far more than they get in Germany, which is the world's leading adopter. And when you couple that with our unfortunately high electricity rates, which unfortunately just got a little higher on January 1st, the payback in Connecticut for solar is actually much better than it is in Arizona, which is where people think of when they, picture like the dream situation for solar. So Connecticut is actually ideal for solar. This is a state-sponsored program. We're a quasi-public agency. And it's also joined by the university, so that provides additional credibility to help you make your decision. Over the course of the next 18 weeks, we're going to be leading a targeted education and outreach campaign. We'll have events like this and follow-on events throughout the year and opportunities for you to come and ask questions. We'll even invite installers and financing lending partners to join us so you can ask them detailed questions that are way beyond our pay grade. And we'll do other things like when the weather gets nicer, we'll try to do some open houses so you can actually see solar on somebody's house and see how attractive that President Nunez now agrees that solar has become. Sometimes we'll even do a live installation event where you could ask questions of the people. Oftentimes in a household there are two parties, and one of them really wants solar and the other one is not quite convinced for a variety of reasons. Either they're concerned about the aesthetics or how is it going to affect the curb appeal if they decide to sell their house, and a million questions. But you could actually talk to people and learn what their real life decisions were, what compelled them to decide to go forward. We're going to be utilizing a website that was developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Energy that David is going to talk about in great detail, that allows you to compare solar apples to apples. We said our mantra for Solarize is solar simple together. And one of the reasons people have had difficulty is because if you want to go solar, even if you knew where to look, you'd find that there are at least 70 companies in Connecticut. So how can you tell one from the other? Here we're going to be working with a group that's been vetted not only by our organization but also by Energy Sage, which has developed the platform. It's going to help simplify the choices for equipment, which can be bewildering. And as I said, you're going to get greatly discounted pricing. The competition offered by the platform that we're using is going to help to drive down the price. And throughout the campaign, people have enjoyed discounts of 15 to 30% off of what you'd be paying outside of the program, which can amount to thousands and thousands of dollars and make the payback period very attractive. So yes, great. So just a brief word about our roles. Besides being the overall program administrators, we provide incentives, whether you want to purchase or lease for no money down your system. It's really flexible these days, which has also helped to bring more people into the field. We've developed, consistent with our new mission, some financing products to help you purchase it. There's a very flexible loan that we'll talk about, the Smarty loan, that applies to 40 different measures. Solar PV is just one of them, but it also covers energy efficiency, and if you should have an electric vehicle, it covers an EV charging station for your home and many other home energy upgrades. And we also have a lease option. Historically, only the largest companies have been able to offer a lease product because of the expense and complexity of it, but we as the state developed a lease product that any installer is eligible to use, so those will be available for your benefit. We'll work together with the folks on campus and everybody to ensure that the 18 weeks run smoothly, and at the end of the day we will conduct an inspection of all systems to make sure that they are consistent with what you signed up for. So with that, I'm going to turn the show over for David. And David, if there's anything you need me to jump back in on, feel free.
No, I think we're... Yeah, right. I think we're done here. I think he answered all your questions, right? That was good information. So Smart Power is a nonprofit marketing firm out of DC. We were just voted the best nonprofit marketing firm in the U.S. Yeah, but with roots here in 2002, started working with a clean energy fund to help promote different programs in the state, and has grown significantly and is one of the main drivers of the Solarize Connecticut campaigns with the Connecticut Green Bank. So what we do is we're really the outreach managers. We really want to reach out to the community. In the Solarize Connecticut programs, a lot of what we've been doing is organizing community events within the municipalities. And the Solarize U campaign is, we're seeing the universities as a micro community, really, within the state. And what's nice about it is it's an ability to reach out to more people within the state in a greater geographic area, because not everybody lives in the same town. Everyone lives in a variety of different areas. They might be commuting an hour and might not be able to participate in the Solarize town program. So now it's an opportunity that you can actually start to participate in the Solarize Connecticut programs, Solarize U in this case. So obviously, one of the things that we like to try to do is we like to try to find those champions or solar ambassadors on campus to really spread the word. We're going to be asking for people to volunteer for that, to help out. It could be student groups. I think it would be a great organization to really reach out to people, faculty, staff, etc. But really, that's one of the ways we really get people involved, is really get the people in the community involved in the programs, and it really helps. SolarizeU.com is a website. This particular website is going to be general information on the Solarize U campaign. It's also at you can also find it at SolarizecT.com. There'll be a link to Solarize U, but a lot of great information on the programs. I did want to kind of talk a little bit about that. So on the Solarize Connecticut program, it started in 2012 with the Connecticut Green Bank, or CEFI at the time, and Smart Power as the marketing outreach manager. It started with 4 towns, and in that 20-week period, they saw 24 to 65 times or increase in contracts on solar installation over the prior 7 years before that program started. So 7 years, those 4 towns didn't see as, they had a certain amount of installations. 24 to 65, depending on which town, over 7 years. They also saw the average rate of return payback on a solar installation go from 11 years down to about 6.5 to 7 years on a payback. So what they saw was, with the tiered pricing and the deep discounts, the incentives, the federal tax credits, really made solar affordable for average residential home in Connecticut. So obviously on the website there's testimonials, videos. A lot of towns have participated. My town in Newtown, Connecticut participated. It was a great success. So you'll see a lot of that information on this. You can get that information on the Solarize U website. Energy Sage is the other partner in this program. It is the website, the web portal that will actually allow you to sign up. We're going to talk a little bit more detail of that a little later and show you how easy it is. Literally, it will take you 5 minutes to sign up. But what it's going to do is identify your property. It's going to connect you to installers. It's not a sales call. No one's going to call you to try to sell you anything. You can choose to have an installer contact you if you want, but no one's ever going to call you unless you give them permission. The installers that are part of this program have been thoroughly vetted through the Energy Sage group and through the state, through CEFI and the Green Bank, Connecticut Green Bank. A lot of the installers have participated in the programs throughout the state for the other Solarize Connecticut programs. And what this Energy Sage platform really does is it gives you a plethora of information on product, being able to compare products from one installer to another on the technologies that are being used. And it allows you to connect to a solar advisor, which is free. You call her up and she will give you and help walk you through your proposals and give you, help you understand the different technologies. Does anybody not know how solar works in the room? No? Everyone knows? Okay, good. So you have a PV panel, goes into an inverter, which takes the DC power, converts it to AC, goes into your house. You have a smart meter right here that actually puts the power onto the grid during the day and gives you a credit, a one-for-one credit, so you can pull that power back off at night. And to give you an idea what makes solar friendly in Connecticut, Bob had mentioned Germany. So I wanted to do a little quiz right now, a geography quiz. So Berlin, does everybody know where Berlin is situated, latitude, compared to Connecticut? Is it north of Connecticut? Anybody? North? Is it north of Boston? Is it north of Portland, Maine? Is it north of Quebec City, Canada? Yes. So, June of this past year, 2014, Germany surpassed 50% of the energy that it produces in solar. So 50.6% of the energy that Germany produces is from solar panels. And they are situated north of Connecticut. And a lot of times I hear a lot of the naysayers on solar say, oh, Connecticut is too far north, don't get enough sunshine. It's actually a really great place for solar. The other note, I just want a nice little fun fact. Actually, 74% of the energy that Germany produces is all renewable. So it's pretty good. So there's, let me go back. Let's talk about what's good about what makes a good site. So the number one thing is sunshine. If you live in a forest and you're surrounded by trees, you might have to remove some of the trees if you want to go solar. But really it's about exposure to the sun. Optimally, you want to have a south-facing roof line if you can. It's not necessary, though. I've seen a lot of different installations and different rack systems that will actually utilize east-west orientations also. But it really would depend on your site, and it's really about exposure. You can also do ground mounts. If you have barns, if you have a detached garage, those might be better situations. So there's a variety of different things, different ways to install solar. I'm going to talk about my solar installation. This is my nice little Adobe in Newtown, Connecticut. You can see that I have a fairly good coverage on my roof. It is a 10K system. It produces 100% of my power. I am going to then show you, this is a cash flow for my particular installation using the Solarize Connecticut program. And if you look up here, 2013, it was about $290. With my loan, my CLMP bill is $16. $134 is what I paid. I was $156 cash flow positive that month. And as you go through, you can see I'm positive all the way up until this month, which I was $10 negative. But it is December. So December, January, you're going to see, you're not going to produce as much energy. But for the most part, I'm projecting at least a $600 cash flow positive year for me, as far as what I would be paying on my 2013 prices, not on my 2014 prices, which have gone up significantly. So try to move along here. Obviously, is it time to go solar? Yes, it is. I mean, you gain some level of independence depending on the size of your system. If you're 100% like myself, it doesn't matter what my rates are. If I'm producing 100% of the kilowatt hours that I'm producing, I'm not going to be paying CLMP anything except for the line fees that everyone has to pay. That would be the $16 just to be on grid. I think it's going up to $18 this month. So it did increase a little bit, but not by much. Disposable income, yes, I have disposable income, but it depends upon the size of your system. You might only want to put, a 4K system, and it only produces a certain amount of your energy. You don't have to do 100%. You can do 50%. You can do 30%. It depends on what's right for you, and that's what Energy Sage really does, and really helps you with understanding the product and the technology. So Bob kind of touched on this. These are the solar incentives. Right now, if you have up to a 10K system, you're getting 67.5 cents per watt on that system going towards your incentives. Anything above that, from 10 to 20 kW, is 40 cents per watt. So if you do a 12 kW system, you're going to get a 67.5 cents per watt up to 10K, and that extra 2K on your system, you would get an incentive of 40 cents. Incentives may vary based upon your site quality. So you need to work with your installer to really understand what your site quality is, and then the Connecticut Green Bank is going to work with your installers to actually get you the best rates and the best possible incentives.
And that just comes right off the top. You don't have to submit a rebate when the time is arranged by the installers to take care of all the
That's where your installers handle all this stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. You also get to take advantage of the 30% federal tax credit, which what I did in my particular case, I took that credit and I put it right into my loan to lower my loan rate, which was great. So to give you an example of a 7 kW system, I had mentioned earlier that with the 2012 pilot program, we saw average paybacks going from 11 years down to 7 years on a payback. What we've also been seeing through these different programs is the cost for the installation drops significantly. So right now, we're looking at about a $3.50 per watt install price. That's kind of an average price right now. So if we took that number on a 7K system, you're going to be looking at roughly around $25,000. You have a rebate that comes right off the top of $4,252 on a 7K system. So your out-of-pocket investment is going to be $20,000. The 30% federal tax deduction, if you're able to take it, is going to be roughly around $6,000. So your final investment on the solar is $14,000. So depending upon what financial mechanism you want, if you have the money to pay outright, or if you're going to take advantage of one of the Smarty loans or the lease, it is really going to depend on what is right for you and what you're looking for as far as a financial investment. But believe me, solar is an investment in your home. One of the things that what's really great about solar is it does increase the value of your home, so it is an investment. And if you can make it cash flow positive, then it truly is an investment. We just talked real quick about the solar financing. There's the Smarty loan and the Connecticut Solar Lease loan. Now, when I did my loan, I did an independent. I wasn't able to take advantage of the Smarty loan, but this is a great financial package right here. 5 to 12 year terms, low rate.
It varies depending on which term length you choose. Okay. And we have a special offer on the Smarty. You bundle solar with another eligible measure, you can get 2.9%, which is very attractive.
That's extremely attractive. And one of the things that's nice about it, if you do decide to go solar, is it still required to do the home audit?
Yep.
Yeah. So when I went solar, I had to do a home audit on my house. It cost me $75 to do that audit. I got probably $150 worth of LED light bulbs, caulking, and then I also actually used the Smarty loan to do attic insulation, which has really helped. My wife is very happy now. She's never cold, and it really has actually lowered our heating bills. So it was a great investment. So now we're going to talk about the Energy Sage portal. This is a tool to help you. This is not a sales tool to sell you solar on your house. It will sell you on solar, but no one's going to call you and pester you and say, what are you doing? Why don't you sign the contract? It is really there. It's a tool to help you. It's a really very powerful database-driven tool that will give you a lot of great information. So how do you sign up? This is your Solarize U Eastern portal page. When you type in solarizeu.com/Eastern, you'll come to this page. This is the actual Energy Sage platform. What you do is you enter in your but your home address right here, right? Then you fill out your name, email address, and a password. You take that little dot and you move it on top of your house's roof, because that's Google Earth. It will show the installer where your house is and which roof line is yours. Then you add a little bit of information on your electric bill. If you have an electric bill that you can attach, you upload that file. If not, you can enter it manually. You put in your average cost per month and your average usage. And that's it. Immediately you will get a ballpark quote from Energy Sage. And what they're using is back-end calculations and drawing from a variety of databases that will calculate average costs in your area. It's going to calculate your savings based upon weather conditions in your area, how much sunshine you get. It will also look at basic roofline algorithms to kind of give you a ballpark of what the cost is going to be, what your savings is going to be, what the incentives are. And it will give you a really good idea, do you have an opportunity here to go solar? Once you do that, and you say, yes, I want to proceed, then they will send your information out to the installers that are in the program. And those installers will then send you quotes. They will go online, they will look at your information, and they will send you quotes based upon their technologies that you use, their pricing structures. They'll look on Google Earth, they'll look around and do a little bit more research, looking at the trees around on your property, and get a better idea of how much sunshine you can expect to have on that roof line.
Do you recall how many installers have signed up so far?
I think there's 8 or 9.
Yeah, I was thinking right past 10.
Oh, maybe.
It's an open enrollment, so any installer that meets the criteria can sign up. But the good part is there are large installers, there are local installers, so whatever your preference, you can select somebody that's right for you.
Yep. So they're not going to contact you yet. They're going to send everything through the Solar Energy Sage website, and you're going to see your quotes pop up here from the different installers. And you can view your quotes. You can actually go through and you can compare the quotes. A variety of different ways to look at it. You can look at, when you're looking at the quotes, down here on the quotes you'll see the different technologies. So you can click on those links and you can actually read about the different technologies. There's Solar 101 videos you can watch on this website. There's all sorts of great information that you can get before you even ever talk to any solar installer. So what I recommend, though, is once you find the 3 installers that you like, and before you do that, you want to take advantage of your solar advisor. So there's a free solar advisor that you can call, and they will go through your quotes, the different technologies, help you understand everything. And you still haven't contacted one of the installers. But at that point, you got to make a decision. And my recommendation is find the top 3, maybe the top 4, maybe the top 5 that you really like, and contact them. And they're going to come out. You don't have to be there typically. They come out and they take a look at your roof line. They do a solar eye. They climb up on your roof and they actually calculate how much sun your roof can get for the entire year. And then they will send you information through the website. You can have a choice of giving them your phone number and saying, please call me. I want to talk to you. But I do recommend you actually sit down with maybe your top 3 installers and go through the product and really understand what they're offering. It's a great way to learn about different products, but you also get to know who the installers are. And it's also a great way to negotiate. That's what this whole platform is really about driving price down and bringing you the best value for the money. So take advantage of it. Even if you don't move forward with anything, you have all this great information here on this website, and it's free, so take advantage of it. So basically, top points on Energy Sage: you're going to be connected with the qualified installers. You're going to be able to have a choice of product design, choosing different financial mechanisms to help you in your decision, and also competitive price. You are also going to have your personal solar advisor to answer any questions and kind of walk you through this entire process and really understand what's right for your home. And as Bob said before, if solar isn't right, or maybe solar is right and you're just not ready to do it, go to EnergizeConnecticut.com and take advantage of the energy audit on your home. It's well worth it. There's a lot of opportunity to update appliances, add insulation, new windows, new doors, lighting, all of them, all of these energy conservation measures. They have great rebates, great ways to finance them through the Smarty loan, and it just makes a lot of sense. It's really a no-brainer. So the one thing that we do and what we've seen, and I kind of touched on this earlier, so over 7 years, from 2002 until 2012, well, that's 10 years, so my math is off, but you get the point. 7 years. You saw this graph. It kind of runs along like this, kind of level, up until 2002 on solar installs in Connecticut, and then all of a sudden you're way up here with how many installs were there? Like 400?
Don't even remember, but it was a very modest number for the first 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it was very modest for you're right. And so in that 20-week period, the installations just went through the roof. So what we found is if there is an end date, you tend to find people signing contracts, and then that last week you get that spike again. And I guess they call that the hockey stick graph, because everyone is trying to jump on board to make sure that they get those incentives that they were promised in the beginning. There is what has happened is as the prices of solar keeps going down and the prices for installation get more and more competitive, the incentives have had a series of decreases. So that's another reason why we want you to be able to sign up as quick as possible if it's right for you, so you can take advantage of the program as it is today. But other than that, is there...
Yeah, I just wanted to remind folks that this program is available for all faculty, staff, and thanks to Lynn's great suggestion, families of students that are living in Connecticut. We can only provide incentives to Connecticut residents, so even those faculty or staff that might live in Rhode Island or Massachusetts or elsewhere wouldn't be able to take advantage of that, but there are comparable programs in neighboring states. But wanted to be clear who our target audience is here. So with that, I think we'll open it up for questions, and we don't profess to be the encyclopedia on all this. We'll do our best. If we don't know the answers, we'll look it up and we can get back to you. But if anyone has questions, now is your opportunity. Yes?
I'm just wondering if there's a model somewhere that possible to just drive over and take a look.
I don't know, Lynn. Do you have? Are there solar arrays on campus? I know there's one on your house.
Yeah, I got to clean that basement. They have some on the bus shelter, but for solar in the home, we're identifying installation staff who have solar, so we'll probably have some tours and things going on. There's also in October a national tour of solar home
We keep a database. So what town do you live in? Manchester? Yeah, we did a Solarize campaign in Manchester. I could probably find several examples of that, and they're actually on the Solarize CT website, so you can see testimonials. Maybe you know somebody on that list, but we can definitely get you some examples so you can see what it looks like. And there are some variations. Some people prefer the black on black because it's almost indistinguishable from, a roof product like shingles. Others have kind of geometric designs with a white backing, so it'll be black or blue against a white background with a dot. So I think they're all attractive. Some people prefer the single color because it blends in a little more nicely.
I had two questions. What about if you had that site within your property, trees big? Like, how does that, is that included?
It's not included. That would be extra. But the one nice thing about the Smarty loans, which we talked about, is you can use up to 20% of the loan for non-energy purposes. So if you have to fortify the roof structure or remove trees or limbs or do anything else you want to do to improve your home energy performance, you can use the loan for that. But that's one way. Other people look at it, they'll ask the installer, all right, I'm borderline with my shading the way it is, but if I remove that tree or that branch, how much would it improve the output and change the economics? So it is a consideration. And just a reminder on the roofs, you typically want a roof that is 10 years or younger. You wouldn't want to put it on a roof that is in need of replacement anytime soon. Some people do that, but you may have to incur the cost of removing the panels at the time you replace the shingles. So that's again a discussion, but that's number one.
And one other question. Does this program include solar hot water, or are any of the installers that are participating also installers of solar hot water?
The program is leading with solar PV, which means solar electric. But again, as we mentioned, in Connecticut, roughly 80% of homes may not work out for solar. And even if you have some shading issues, solar hot water is a little more forgiving because you only need 2 or 3 collectors as opposed to an array of panels for solar electric. So some of the installers, I'm aware, do install solar hot water. So that is an option you can inquire about. And we'd love it if people who couldn't do solar, or even those who could do solar, if they wanted to also do solar hot water. That's a great idea. I went to a conference once in Austria, which has very similar weather characteristics, I think. I haven't checked David's map lately, but their most popular renewable technologies are solar hot water and wood pellet stoves, and they think everyone's crazy for doing anything but that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Typically, they're warranted for 20 to 25 years, but we expect they will go on well beyond that. It's still relatively newish, so we aren't seeing panels, die out. They do degrade slightly over time. We use an estimate of about 0.5% per year. So in the 20th year, they'll be producing slightly less than they do in the first year. But there are often production guarantees that come from either the panel manufacturer or the installer that guarantee you a certain amount. So they should be viable for at least as long as your roof is, until it needs replacing, but could be for decades. Did you want to add anything?
Well, and just so inverters right now, the technology on inverters, typically you're seeing about an 8-year lifespan to 8 to 10 year lifespan on an inverter, but they're under the warranty. So when those go, the solar company comes out and actually replaces them. I suspect in 8 years from now or 10 years from now, the technology on those inverters are going to be that much better. So you might actually see an increase in efficiency on your total array. there are modules that actually go with the inverters and on the panels that actually help increase efficiency on different panels. So even though there might be, you might see the panels not working as efficiently, and maybe they're dropped 5% efficiency over that 15 years or something like that, or maybe it's 8% or something like that over 15 years. With the newer technology, you might actually see it might work out.
Yeah, there are two commonly used inverters. The original one is called a central inverter, and that's the size of a suitcase, and that works fine if you don't really have shading issues. But we often use the Christmas tree analogy of, if one bulb on your string of lights went out, then the whole thing might go out. So there's now a technology called microinverters, which David was mentioning. These are about this big, and they fit on the back of every panel. And what they're great for is if you have some mild shading issues, say a chimney or a branch, it's not going to have that Christmas tree effect. You may get some reduced output in the panel or panels that are shaded, but the rest of the system will perform to full efficiency. They also come with a 25-year warranty, so you don't have to worry about potentially replacing it after 8 to 12 years. Yes, sir.
Talk about the inverters, the central versus the individual ones. Is there a difference between the efficiency between the ones?
If you don't have shading issues, they'll probably both perform comparably, and the microinverters tend to be a little more expensive. But most people do have some shading issues, and the microinverters can improve the efficiency. I think you'd have to look at your specific site conditions and talk to the installer and get a sense of, if I pay a little bit of a premium for the microinverters, am I going to recoup that? And in many cases, the answer is yes, but each site can be different.
And technology too can be a little bit, from one manufacturer to another can be slightly different. And that's what's great about the Energy Sage website. When you start getting your quotes in, like I said, on the bottom of the quotes, there'll be a link to your technology, so you can actually see what those microinverters do. Some of them they claim they might do 24% more efficiency in a system, and you can kind of compare apples to apples to see which makes the most sense.
If you have microinverters, they're under the warranty the same as central inverter, and yet the cost is the entire cost, not just replacing the bar plate as well.
Right.
I haven't heard a couple of questions that we always get, so I'm going to ask David some commonly asked questions. What happens if the grid goes down after a hurricane or some other major weather event?
You lose your power. That's it. So what happens is, right now with the technology and the smart meter, the way they are set up right now is, if the grid goes down, if you lose power, you lose power. And the reason for that is, if you were still producing power, it would be sending power onto the grid during the day, and you have the linemen out there risking their lives trying to get you power, and so they're putting the lines up, and they don't want anybody to get electrocuted or injured. So what happens is, there's a computer that says, hey, the grid is down, it shuts everything down
automatically, and it's really solely to protect the line workers. It's not a deficiency in the technology. It's just the way it is. Some people do have battery backups, which would allow their systems to provide power in the event of a blackout. They tend to be expensive, but some people want that freedom. They want to be off grid to the extent possible. Many installers will offer that to you, but they might tell you that in their view it's more economical to get a conventional generator for backup purposes.
So I bought a generator for my house in 2004, and I used it during the hurricane of 2012 for like the first time. So it's one of those things where you buy it, you never use it. So how many times do you really lose power? I mean, there was that one time, but I mean, I think I paid $200 or $250 for my generator, and I was able to run everything all the essentials. So
battery backup for solar can cost $10,000 to $15,000, so it's a not insignificant amount. And again, that's going to be up to customer preference. So speaking of weather, what happens to a system if it snows?
You lose power. So last year when we had that crazy snowstorm in February that seemed to never stop, and all of a sudden we had 5 feet of snow in my backyard. I had 5 feet of snow. I was walking through and trudging through waist deep snow and pulling ice dams off my roof. There was 20 days that my panels did not generate any power because they were covered in 3 feet of snow. You do run into that situation, but how often do we get 3 feet of snow? Typically what I've seen, so in December we had some snow in the state, and what I typically see when you have 3, 4, 6 inches of snow and the next day is sunny, the snow all slides off the panels. The panels warm up. They might slide halfway off on the first day and then all the way off on the second day. So typically the panels don't stay covered, but you do have there is a chance that they could be covered if you have a lot of snow.
A lot depends on the pitch of the system, and normally your pitch is going to follow the roof line. So that's enough with the sun piercing through and the panels heating up. As David explained, it will melt the snow away. Could be the same day or the next day. If you get a lot of snow or if the temperatures remain well below zero, it could take longer to clear. But typically we discourage people from trying to clear it themselves. Some people are maniacal. They want their systems producing 365 days a year. But depending on what you're using, you could damage the panels. So obviously don't use anything with a hard edge. I think they sell some things like the roof rake for solar, but it's got a very soft surrounding on the part that's coming in contact with the panels.
And the panels are very durable. It took about a half a day to have my panels installed, and I was watching the installers up on my roof standing on the panels as they installed the next set. So they're not fragile by any means, but you don't want to be scraping or scratching or doing something that potentially could damage them. But I was told if you're going to go up there, I think it's more of a liability with your homeowner's insurance getting up on a snowy roof or something like that. You might want to check on that one.
You said you lose power. You don't check.
I don't check. Right. I was just kind of. I was trying to be funny, but I guess
Yes.
I got a couple questions. What about if you're an employee who retires? Does that throw you out of this thing?
No,
program?
I mean, we have targeted faculty and staff, but we would certainly include retired people from those categories. And again, families of students are eligible thanks to your suggestion.
How about families of staff? I know my sister's interested in solar.
Why not?
Sure. As long as they go through the site.
Right. So we're just trying to provide outreach beyond these benefits and incentives, but it's not exclusive. So if someone in Wyndham saw a press release that Eastern's doing this and they have no affiliation, and they wanted to go through Eastern's website, it's fine. It's just a matter of when we get more people on board, you can bring the prices down.
Okay, one other question that my colleague upstairs had, she couldn't come to this, was what happens if you sell your house? Now, I can imagine if you pay for it, then you said it's going to increase the value of your home. What if you lease this solar?
It's also transferable, and we've done some research into this, and of the folks who have moved during the period of their lease, I think maybe all but one, or maybe it was 100%, but it was some extremely high percent of the incoming occupants, were happy to take the solar. There are different options, and it depends how far into the lease you are. You also have an option to purchase, but there could be a situation where the person leasing is responsible for taking it down. But the vast majority of the cases, in our experience, the incoming occupants are happy to take it over because they know their electric bills are going to be lower than the next door neighbors. But it's spelled out in the lease terms.
Sometimes the company would take it down, right? Isn't that part of it? If they own it, wouldn't they be the ones to take it down?
It depends. I think they're only obligated to take it down at the end of the 20-year lease. So if you're moving in year 10, it's not their responsibility. And as I said, it depends on when you're trying to, when you might need to remove it if the incoming purchaser didn't want it.
So this thing goes, like if your roof is almost 10 years old, and you put the unit on, then you've got this, it doesn't save your roof from deteriorating over the course of time.
It does help a little bit because it's reducing the wear and tear from the elements. I don't want to say it'll give you 50 years, but it's actually been shown to be more favorable than if you didn't have it, because the asphalt shingles are not being hit by the sun and the weather in the same way.
And can I ask one more question?
Sure.
About the pitch. Now, you said 35 degree is ideal. Now, tell me what kind of a house that would be. A ranch-style house or a cape-style house? Or
35. So it's going to be more like a ranch-style house, maybe a little bit steeper. There's some, depending on the rack systems, they could actually raise the pitch if you want to. But if you have enough exposure, the pitch really doesn't play in as much as you think. If you're going to go with thermal solar, then the pitch really does play in a lot, because in the wintertime you want to have a steeper pitch on thermal solar because you really want the hot water in the wintertime, and you don't need as much hot water in the summertime. So if you have a lower pitch on thermal. So on a PV system, though, as long as you have exposure, it's 35 is optimal. 45 is fine. I think when you start to get into a flat roof, you're going to be going on to a.
And interestingly, some people who do the ground-mounted systems, you have the ability to set it for the optimal angle and place it where it's going to get the optimal sunlight. Some of them are even, you can change it during the course of the year. It might require some manual effort, but just wanted to throw those options out there too. But by far, the most common is to put it on your roof.
And the lady in the back.
What do you have for condos for a person who may live in a condo? Have you worked with anything like that?
The trick question comes in. Condos, from our perspective, are perfectly eligible for leases, but we don't have the final say with condo associations. So just this past month, I met with Heritage Village, which is a large condo association in Southbury, one of the most famous ones in the state, and they just granted permission for the first tenant to put solar on his unit. And this coming Tuesday, I'm going to be meeting at Farmington Woods, which straddles Farmington and Avon. And I will tell you that they have more restrictions than you might have if it was your own house. For example, they don't allow you to use a leased system, and you have to own it outright. You have to get written permission from your neighboring tenants, and it has to fit in with their roof replacement schedule. So we, after talking to Heritage Village, we concluded that if you'd had your roof replaced in the last 10 years or were scheduled to have it replaced in 2015, it would be suitable, but otherwise probably not unless they were willing to work with you. So you have to talk to the condo association, but the good news is we're knocking down some of those barriers, and there's more hope than there was previously. Did you have a follow-up, or was that you had two questions? Okay.
You talked about the roof mounted versus the runway system.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a difference in price would you expect if there is any difference between the two?
I think typically the ground-mounted systems cost about $1 more per watt, which is substantial, but not if it's your only option. The reason for that is they have to construct the stand. What we showed you is actually a pole-mounted system with an array on it. The ground-mounted, it's like a rack that is positioned on the property somewhere, but they have to do some footings with that, and then they have to trench to the house, so the distance between the array and the electric panel in the house could also affect it. But in my experience, it might add about $1 a watt. But again, that's something to negotiate. You would expect to pay more, though.
Yeah. And it's all in the labor on the install.
Second question, you're talking about the...
You also have to deal with permitting for zoning, planning and zoning on that, because it's a structure, whereas you don't have to do that for a roof-mounted system.
You talk about the panels increasing the value of the house. Do you have any numbers of how they increase it?
So Forbes magazine in 2011 or 2012 published a report on solar on the homes, and they saw an increase between 8 and 10% on the home value, with 100% return on investment if you sold the house. They also saw that about homes with solar sold about 20% quicker than homes without. With that being said, there was another report out of California more recently that estimated about $5,500 per kW of system on your home. So if you have a 10 kilowatt system like mine, at least if you lived in California, you would be making about $55,000 of increase on your home. So if you had a $500,000 home, it kind of falls in line with that 10%. Those are just reports out of Forbes and a variety of independent reports. I think something that you do need to take into consideration is, price, value, resale value, et cetera, of homes just in the Northeast here now. I think we're still kind of struggling, we've fallen behind, I think, as far as the rest of the nation is concerned, as far as home values rebounding after the recession. So if you took that, if you've lost money on your home and you're taking that 10%, obviously it might not look as attractive. But that's typically what Forbes magazine and they're saying about $5,000 per kW or 10% of the value of your home.
And similarly, I just saw a study in an email that came in this morning. I didn't get a chance to read it, but these are the types of information we can post on the website. So if you're interested, you could at least see what the experts are saying on that. Yes.
My final question is, I know you say you want more people to go solar to help bring the price of the solar energy down. Now, does it make sense for people to get into it now, or wait while more people are putting it up around? You can see them coming up all over the place, and wait for the price to come down, sort of like the big screen TV thing.
Sure. Yeah, prices have come down. When I started with the organization in 2007, I think the average per kilowatt was about 10,000, and outside of Solarize, it's now down in the low 4,000s, but in Solarize, it's less than that, sometimes 3,500. So I think we're getting close to the bottom. There's still some opportunities. One area that we're working on is there are two kinds of costs. The hard cost is the equipment, and that's, I think, sort of reaching its critical mass, and it's not going to get much lower. But there's still some opportunities on the soft costs. So what Solarize has succeeded in doing is we've reduced marketing costs for installers, and that's why they're able to pass the savings on to you, the customers. But then there's some other costs. An example would be permitting. And so we're trying to work with towns to either reduce or eliminate their permit fees and implement best practices such as online, which can save significant time, and in doing so, there's a hope that that would result in lower costs. So it's hard to predict, but you should also be aware, as David mentioned, our incentives will decrease over time. They're probably going to decrease by June again, and they will continue to do so. Our goal is to get off subsidies. And second, the federal tax credit is scheduled to sunset in 2016, so you don't want to wait too long because then you risk losing that 30% tax credit.
And I think the other thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the cost of waiting? So you're going to continue to pay CL&P, $200, $250, whatever you pay per month. I talked to a young lady over at the student center that worked there, and she's very interested. She has a modest-sized home, but she has electric heat, and she's paying $350 a month. And I was like, yeah, you have a great opportunity here. Why pay CL&P that $350 when you can pay for your Smarty loan $118 like I'm doing and generate your own electricity? So you can either invest in your future or you can wait, and maybe prices will probably come down a little bit more and technology will improve, but that cost of waiting, it really depends on what that might be.
So one more question, and this is regarding, I might not have it straight, but I've heard that most of the panels, the solar panels, are still made in China. Is that true, or do we?
No. So the solar panels that I have on my house are from Canada. They're Canadian panels. So I chose to go with a North American panel maker and inverter. They're fantastic panels. There are some great U.S. panels. You typically see a slight increase in U.S. panels, so maybe 15 cents, 30 cents per kW for a U.S. panel. LG out of South Korea makes a great panel. So there's a lot of, I think one of the concerns that people get with Chinese product is the lack of regulation. So you could get very good panels or you can get very bad panels depending upon that company. And because of the lack of regulation, there's a question, but there's no question that you're still going to get great product. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Of course.
And you could specify if you wanted American-made panels or something else. You could tell them, only talk to me about that. And the Energy Sage platform will allow you to compare. If you've never heard of the brands, like how does A compared to B, they'll provide some information for you.
Yeah, there'll be that link at the bottom where you can click on it, and it'll tell you where they're made and manufactured.
So not only do you want to ask where the panels are manufactured, but where also the components are manufactured. Because the components can be made overseas and then imported and assembled. So there's actually two questions I want to ask really.
Right. Yeah. It's often a global effort. Sometimes if one piece is made in America, they will allow you to say, oh, it's American made, even though it might just be one little component. But it's good to ask about that.
Does it make any difference who your power provider is for this program?
I'm sorry.
Does it make any difference who the power provider is?
You mean the electric company? Do you mean on the generation?
No, I mean just to participate in it. I mean, I have a power provider like power.
Oh, okay. I was going to... That's a municipal utility district, so they do allow solar. They follow the incentives from that we provide, same amounts. but they do have some slight distinction. So their net metering policy operates differently than CLNP or UIs. So these are questions you could ask the installer. They should be familiar. What town? Lebanon. Okay, yeah, we did a campaign in Lebanon, and a portion of the customers were in the Basra territory. So I think with that, we will wrap it up. If anybody has any questions, we could stick around for a few, but we want to be respectful and let you get out while it's still daylight. But we thank you very much for coming. And again, this is a word-of-mouth campaign, so tell your colleagues, and for those students, tell families that they're eligible to take advantage of this. And again, if solar doesn't happen to work for you, there are many other ways that you can save energy, and in the course of doing so, save money. Our goal is to extend the vision of the university, which has been an absolute leader in sustainability, and bring it down to the homes of its families. So thanks again for coming, and we look forward to hearing about your success stories in form of testimonials.
And real quick, to just go on that, there is a sign-up sheet that I put out there. It's purely voluntary. Really, all I'm looking for, if it's okay for me to contact you down the road, all I would be doing is asking you simple questions. How's the program? Are there any issues that you would like to share with us? I really would just like to understand how this pilot program, the Solarize U program, is working out compared to the Solarize Connecticut programs. So I'm not going to be sending emails every day, week, or whatever, but maybe every month I might reach out and say, how's everything going? Did you sign a contract? Were there any issues? I'd love to just get some feedback. And if it's okay, if not, just put a no on there, and then it would just be more for inter-department communication and questions.
And check out the calendar. We'll be back frequently over the next few months, and thank you again for coming.